everyone, today I'm here to film my August wrap up. So August was a very interesting month for reading for me, honestly. I started off pretty good and by the middle of it I hit a huge reading slump. I think it was probably my personal life. A lot of things have happened in August. Just a weird mood. My grandmother also passed away. So it was a huge contributing factor. It's just a very odd month. It was probably due time for myself to have a reading slump because I haven't had one all year, honestly. I knew it was going to hit inevitably. But regardless of my slump, at least I think it was a slump, I don't know, I still managed to read 10 books this month, which really astonishes me. Like, I can't quite fathom it. I think in large part was I read 3 graphic novels. I think if I hadn't read those, I would probably only have read 7 books, which I still is a good number for me, honestly. But either way, I read 10 books, so I'm going to share with you what books I read this month. It was kind of an iffy reading month as well. Like, there were a couple of really good books I read, and there was a lot that were just kind of mediocre and also great. But as always, I'm going to show you my least favorite working up to my favorite. So without further ado, let's begin. My least favorite book I read this month was a graphic novel, and that is this one, Summer, by Jillian Tamaki and Mariko Tamaki. I wanted to love this graphic novel but ended up not loving it. So all the graphic novels I talk about today, I actually have a match review on. So if you want to hear more thoughts on my feelings on these graphic novels, I'll link that right here. But this one is kind of just all about this girl that goes on a vacation with her family and she meets up with her friend there. And that's about it. Nothing really happened in this book. I think a lot could have happened. There was a lot of underlying issues, especially with her mother, that I feel like they could have touched upon more. But I think my main problem with this book is, like, there was no real plot. Like, nothing happened. So I only gave it a 2 out of 5. And honestly, those 2 stars are strictly for the artwork. The artwork is stunning. If I can give the artwork a rating, it would give a 5 out of 5. Like, it's stunning. Like, I love the way it was drawn. Look, it's beautiful. But I mean, honestly, I wouldn't recommend this to you. I'd say it's not one of my favorite graphic novels I've read, and I haven't read a ton, but I just did not enjoy it. Speaking of books that I did not enjoy is Stalking Jack the Ripper by Carrie Maniscalco. I went into this thinking I was gonna love it. I love the overall plot. I love the atmosphere of it. But where my love kind of ends, this is literally the title. It's about stalking Jack the Ripper. Jack the Ripper is on the loose, and it's about this girl that's kind of trying to, you know, I guess, stalk him, figure out his methods of why he's doing this, and nothing really happened in this book. Like I said, the atmosphere was A+. Like, I love the way she described England and Victorian England, and that was stunning. But the main character was going to be obsessed with Jack the Ripper and wanted to, like, stalk him and figure out his motives and, like, kind of almost, like, train under him. But they're just trying to figure out this murder mystery, which is also equally great, but it didn't really happen. Not a lot happened in this book. I also felt like it moved very slowly, like painfully slow. Like, I had to work my butt off to finish this book. So I ended up giving this one a 2.5 out of 5, which is definitely an unpopular opinion. A lot of people love this book. I sadly am not one of them, and I am glad I read this before I decided to buy Hunting Prince Dracula, because I don't know if I want to buy that now. That might just have to be a library book, because I don't know, like, the whole thought of Prince Dracula really intrigues me, but if it plays out like this one, I'm not too sure. But either way, if you love this book, I'm so glad you did. I just personally did not. I felt like it could have been a lot better. Like I said, I read a ton of mediocre books, so don't think this video is all bashing these books. They're all great in their own way. I just personally didn't love them. Moving up to 3 stars, which is kind of just average of the road for me, is Summer Unscripted by Jen Klein. I checked out this book from the library because I read her other book, which is also in this wrap up, and I love that book. So I was like, I have to read this one. I did not love this one. This is her newest release, and it's about this girl that really has no passion in life. She doesn't know what she's going to do. All of her friends seem to know exactly what they want to do in life, and she's just kind of floating out there on the surface. And then one day at school, a whole bunch of her classmates are giving speeches and things like that, and a guy named Tuck gives a speech, and it really resonates with her, so she decides, I'm just going to follow this guy. And this guy happens to go to this, like, theater summer camp, or just a theater. He goes to a theater program in the summer, so she decides just to follow him down there, to join this theater troupe and put on this production, and that's that's what she does. And she also meets another guy, so she's feeling very conflicted. So this is definitely a love triangle book, and it fell flat for me. I loved her first book so much. I think I had such high expectations going into this book, but I just did not feel like they were met at all. I did not like our main character a ton. She was very wishy-washy. She put her faith like in this random guy that she doesn't even know. Like, it was very much insta love. And she was also questioning her feelings on this other guy. She was also very questionable on her friend that helped her out so much. So the main character in this book, the overall plot, not that great. Overall, it's an average contemporary read. I wouldn't say it's one of my favorites I've ever read. It was just kind of a middle of the road for me. So like I said, I gave it a 3 out of 5. Moving on to 3.5. We're working our way up, people. Is Everything All at Once by Katrina Leno. I picked this one up immediately after I opened it in my uppercase box, and because I love the sound of it. It's all about this girl named Lottie who loses her aunt, and her aunt was like the world's most popular middle grade author. So pretty much her aunt's like J.K. Rowling. So her aunt passes away, and she leaves Lottie these letters of things for her to do, like, you know, today I want you to live vicariously, today I want you to do this, and it's also helping Lottie deal with her anxiety. And overall, I like this one. Kind of wanted a little bit more depth. It does talk a great deal about mental health, which I really enjoyed, but I kind of wanted it to be a little bit deeper, a little bit more oomph to it. There's also like kind of snippets of her aunt's actual books in this book, if that makes sense, which I also really enjoy. Like, I would read those books, but either way, I would recommend this book. It's a great mental health book, and it's a very, very fast and quick read, and it's an overall very heartwarming story. I just kind of wanted a little bit more from it, so I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. Next up, I have a graphic novel, and that is Something New by Lucy Kinsley. This is all about Lucy Kinsley planning her wedding. Like I said, I have the whole mashup review of all these graphic novels if you want to hear more thoughts. But overall, I like this one, not as much as I thought I was going to like it, because I am a sucker for weddings. I'm a wedding photographer, so I love some weddings. I feel like the author was really trying to be like, I'm not your typical bride. She said like 100 times in this book, but she was honestly kind of your typical bride, which there's no shame in that. I kind of feel like her personality kind of dampened this book, but it's all about her personality. But I'd say if you're into weddings, definitely check this book out. And if you're into like planning and like things like that, check it out. If you're a big graphic novel lover, I would recommend it. It's not my favorite graphic novel, but it's a solid one. It kept me entertained. I was interested in it, and she actually has photos of her wedding in it. You probably saw some flipping through there. Still up in the air of what to rate this. I think I'm like at a 3.75 out of 5. By no means did I not enjoy this book. I quite enjoyed it. I just felt like the author was kind of pushing herself a little bit too much, in my opinion. Coming in at 3.75 again is Britt Marie Is Here by Frederick Bachman. This is my second Frederick Bachman book, and I was kind of disappointed in this one as well. A lot of people love this book. This is one of their favorites by the author. My favorite is still A Man Called Uva. I love that book. This book I did enjoy, though. It's about this woman named Britt Marie who's very, very uptight. She has to have things a certain way, and she eventually just decides to leave her cheating husband and moves to this really small town, and there you go. I didn't love the writing style in this book, which surprises me because I love his writing style in A Man Called Uva. There were certain characters, like I think there was a character called Somebody, and it was like somebody said this, somebody said that, and I got confused so easily because I'm like, are we just talking about somebody or like the character somebody? It was quite confusing. But overall, the overall plot was amazing. It was a great character arc for Britt Marie herself. She had such a beautiful arc. But other than that, like, it was just kind of a middle of the road book for me. I don't know. I want to read all of his books because I do enjoy his plots and I do enjoy his overall writing style, but this one just kind of fell a little bit flat for me. Moving into my 4 stars. First up, we have Relish, also by Lucy Kinsley. This is the last graphic novel. I really enjoyed this book. So much like her last graphic novel, which was all about planning her wedding, this is about her relationship to food. That's right, a graphic novel all about food, and it was amazing. So this is about her relationship with food. So her mom was actually a caterer and like a chef, and her dad was a foodie. So her whole life has been surrounded by food. She's grown up with it, much like all of us do really, but you get what I'm saying. So each chapter is kind of like a different story, whether it be like her mom like making this one particular thing, or whether it be a trip that her mom and her take to like Japan and experience the cuisine there. Basically, this book is just a love letter to food, and it's a beautiful letter at that. I love the illustrations in it. It was stunning, and also at the end of each chapter has recipes for the best chocolate chip cookies ever. Overall, I'd say if you're a fan of food, read this book. If you're a fan of graphic novels, read this book. Even if you're not a fan of graphic novels, I would highly recommend this book. I just love the way it flows, and I loved her personality much more in this book than her other book, if that makes any sense at all. But this is my favorite of hers. I want to read all of her graphic novels, and her graphic novels are more like memoirs, if you will. So it's a graphic novel and a memoir, so like a 2-in-1. Either way, I give this one a 4 out of 5. Next up, I have Shuffle Repeat by Jen Klein. So remember her other book I have on here, Summer Unscripted. This one I love so much. I want to see this is her debut novel, and it was so adorable. If you're a fan of the cutesy contemporary books, you will love this, my friend. This is about Oliver and June, and pretty much they have to carpool to school with each other each day, and they kind of debate each day, and whether they win a point in that debate, they get to add like a song to the playlist. It's more about their friendship evolving into something else, and it's just an overall adorable, cutesy contemporary book. I just really enjoyed it. It put a smile on my face the entire time I read it, so I would highly recommend it. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. I loved it. I also have a master review of this one, as well as another book I'm going to talk about in a little bit, so I will leave that right here for you to see. My last 2 books I want to talk about are my favorite this month. I love them both so much. The next one I'll talk about is Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. I read it. I finally read it. Did you think I wouldn't read it? I didn't think so either. But I did, and I now see why everyone is obsessed with Laini Taylor's writing. It is stunning. It is beautiful. Like, her writing is just amazing. This is so mysterious of a book. It's about a city called Weep, and it's kind of been lost for forever, and we follow main character Laszlo, who's very much interested in Weep, and basically he gets a chance to go there. That's all you need to know about this book. You're going to have to go into it blind, as much as it kills you, because it kills me to go into things blind. I like to know about things, but I loved it. I didn't give it a full 5 out of 5 though. I gave it like a 4.75 out of 5 because it took a little bit of time to get into. Like, I want to say the first 100 pages are kind of slow, but after that it gets really amazing. Much like the way I felt with The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. You make it over that first little hump, you're going to have an amazing book in your hands. It is stunning. The whole story arc is beautiful. The whole writing is beautiful. The characters are amazing. I get Laini Taylor's, I get why people love her books. I truly do, and I can't wait to read more in this series. I think I want to read her Daughter of Smoke and Bone series, but either way, a beautiful book about this lost city and about these amazing characters. So good. And my favorite book of the month that I read was Eliza and Her Monsters by Francesca Zappia, or Zappia. I remember it's one of those pronunciations. Another amazing contemporary read. This is a more on the serious side of one, so if you're looking for a lighthearted one, I would recommend Shuffle Repeat. And if you're looking for a little bit more deeper, like kind of serious one, I would recommend this one. This one follows Eliza, and she has created this huge popular webcomic called Monstrous Sea. And it's all about her, you know, learning how to deal with that and dealing with the fame that comes from that. And she meets a guy at school that is actually Monstrous Sea's biggest fan fiction writer, and he doesn't know that she's the creator of Monstrous Sea. So it's all about them forming a relationship, as well as her mental health. Mental health plays a huge part in this book, and I overall really enjoyed it. I gave it a 4.75 as well. The one qualm I had with it was Eliza herself. While she did have an amazing character arc, there were a couple things about her that I didn't enjoy. Mainly her relationship with her parents. It was just kind of flawed. Like, I don't know. I go into it more of my match it review, so like I said, if you want to see that, I talk about this book, Shuffle Repeat, and another book all in that one video, so definitely check that out to hear more of my thoughts on it. But either way, I love this book. So there you have it. There are my 10 books that I read this month. 10. I still can't believe it. I thought I had a huge reading slump and I still managed to read 10 books. But overall, I would say I enjoyed, like, I really enjoyed 4 of them, and the others were just kind of middle of the road books for me. So it was still a good reading month, but not an amazing reading month. But that's okay, because September is next month, and so many amazing book releases. I think that's probably gonna be one of my favorite months of reading, much like May was. If you have read any of these books, please let me know your thoughts and opinions. Do we share the same? Were we different? Either way, let me know. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, hit subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.